What's going on, everyone? Between the Dots back for another episode. We got week 1 of the NHL in the books. Today on our show, we're going to be talking about what's hot and what's not around the league. We're also going to get into we got some surprises in store. All right, it's going to be a good show. Joined, as always, with Rory Keith, best hair in all podcasting, and Colin Kajewski, freshly shaved for this week, too. So he's looking good. How you guys doing?
I missed the mustache already on you.
Honestly, so do I. It's okay. It'll be back in like 3 days. It's all good.
Good stuff, guys. So this episode, like we said, we're going to be talking about some hot starts. So we got the Boston Bruins off to a good start, Vegas off to a good start. Also, how about Austin Matthews, too? He's just been absolutely lighting it up. So we're going to talk about him. We're going to talk about the best captain in the league, Mr. Brady Tkachuk. We're going to be talking about some of the teams, too, that have gotten off to some cold starts as well. So the Kraken, what's gone on with the Oilers the first couple games. We're going to be talking about the Lightning. Timo Meier was benched, too, the other day for the entire third period. We're going to get into that and all that and more. So thanks, everyone, for watching. If you are watching, make sure you like and subscribe to the podcast wherever you're watching or listening. It's available on YouTube and then on Spotify and Apple Podcasts as well, too. So why don't we, before we get into things, I wanted to start off with a little surprise that I kind of had for you guys, okay? So
why does this scare me?
In the spirit of Tim's cards being back, all right, I've gotten some packs, all right? So we're going to start off with a pack opening. We're going to do one at the beginning of the show, one at the end of the show, and we're going to talk about one of the players that's in this pack, okay?
I like it.
Rory, you're going to pick the first one. So we're going to open it. As everyone knows, right, there's 3 cards in a Tim's pack. We're going to open this. So make them easier to open. All right.
This is Volko's favorite pastime. He's just looking forward to the Tim's cards to come out every year.
Our first one that we got, Leon Draisaitl, okay? Our next one looks like that's Clayton Keller. A nice little Clayton Keller Hockey Triumphs card, okay? And then our last one.
David autographed card.
Oh my goodness! I just got a donut prize card. I don't know what that is. I think that's actually kind of cool.
Prize card.
That's crazy. Awesome. The
All
last
right,
one.
That's up to me.
Ilya Sorokin's the last one. So out of Sorokin, Draisaitl, Keller, or the donut prize card, I guess. Who do we want to chat about first?
I'll go Sorokin, I guess, since you left that up to me, because I actually watched some of that game last night against the Yotes. I picked the wrong game to watch because that was very New York Islanders fashion, 1-0 game. But hey, picked Sorokin for the Vezina, so that's a good little puck there, getting the shutout. But they really shut them down. Like the Yotes had 7 shots after 2 periods, 14 in the whole game, so not much work for them. But Islanders are still the Islanders, and Sorokin, pitching the shutout. So I'll take that.
Islanders have got to be. Go ahead,
Kijo. Coyotes Islanders game. That would probably be, if I had to pick the last game I would ever watch, it's probably Coyotes Islanders.
You know what? I'm just happy that hockey's back. I don't even care what games are on. I'm watching a little bit of everything. I'm just touching base in every arena. Gotta feel out the vibes of every team. Gotta carry something into the pot. So
Islanders got to be like the most boring team in the NHL to watch. But Sorokin, he's lights out every single time he's on the ice. He's making $4 million this year, and then next year it goes up. He's got his new contract, which kicks in. It goes up to $8.25 million per year. But $4 million a year, that's a steal for a guy like that. That's awesome.
So I expect the Islanders to be boring, but I expect the Yotes to be exciting. I expected so much more out of them. So that's more so who I was watching for.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's how we started the episode today. let's get into some other hot starts this year. So, first off, let's talk about the Bruins going 2-0. A lot of people thought they'd take a step back. What are you guys' thoughts on them? Why don't you go first, Kijo?
I mean, they still have a really good squad. It's just I hate talking about the Bruins. They always come up. Why are they always good? When are they going to fall back a bit? Like, it's the good thing with even in the East alone. There's so many good teams. Having the Bruins be good and Leafs are good. Sens are getting better. I won't say they're good, but they're getting better. But no, the Bruins, you can't really say it was unexpected. I know you lose the top two centers like we talked about before, but just all that firepower with Pasternak. He had the nice penalty shot goal the other night. It's good to see the all the good teams in the East, but the Bruins being really good again. It's definitely not unexpected.
We should have led off this episode by expressing this caveat that some teams have only played 2 games. Others have played 4. So let's see. But yeah, like the Bruins still have reasonable center depth. It's just they don't have any high-end talent there, right? So they're relying on their high-end wingers to uplift the Charlie Coyles and the Pavel Zakas and the Poitras guy. I don't even know his first name. So good hockey podcast here, but that rookie that's elevated himself, you know.
Yeah. Hey, what about Matthews too? Like, how about that guy? Like, he's just been lights out so far this year. What is it? 2 games, 2 hat tricks. So that's pretty solid. Actually, they played 3 games. So they lost the other day, Chicago. But I mean, his first 2 games, 6 goals in 2 games. So was he on pace for like 100 and something, 200 goals there? Like that's impressive stuff. So.
You knew they played 3 games. You just wanted to throw in the loss to the Blackhawks there. You had to mention it.
Yeah. What was Reeves saying too about Corey Perry? Did they not get along or something that game?
He said, I saw today, he said that Corey Perry thinks he's tough, and he's not tough.
Reeves just is the epitome of tough too, you know. So
I love Ryan Reeves, man. That guy, like, you hate him if he's on the other team, but I love Ryan Reeves.
Did he win that Chicago game too?
I know, you say did he fight?
Yeah, because I know he fought the first 2 games.
I don't know if he fought. I know Noah Gregor got in a fight. But I don't know if Reeves fought.
I mean, if your
How much
fantasy,
do you love that?
Yeah,
Just seeing players drop the gloves for the Buds every game so far to start the season.
It's awesome.
They're making their presence
some
felt.
people don't like the fighting in hockey, but I don't know. I'm not gonna shy away from watching it. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, you gotta have that in hockey. You can't. That's a huge part of the game. Builds momentum if you get a good scrap. That's without a doubt. You gotta keep that in. No, Reeves is. If your fantasy league has penalty minutes, yeah, Reeves might be a good pickup there. So another guy who gets penalty minutes though. How about Mr. Brady Tkachuk? Let's give some credit for him. In my opinion, Brady Tkachuk is. You guys can disagree or agree with me, whatever you want. Brady Tkachuk is the best captain in the NHL. He will throw down for his teammates at any point in time. And so far, he's getting his points too this year. He's a top 5 fantasy player as well, just a cross-category machine. Like, this guy he's turned into an elite player in the NHL. And like, he's 24 years old too, so he's going to be getting even better. He's probably not even in his prime yet. So I'm excited for what this season has to hold with Brady Tkachuk in the Sens.
You could tell you just completely skipped over the 6-goal talk of Matthews to jump right to the best captain in the league.
That's right. Exactly. No,
I do like that though. Like the captain that'll go out and drop the gloves, he'll score, he'll do whatever. Like Dunner's probably watching the Jerome McGinley vibes. Just like he'll do anything for his team. Brady Tkachuk. He is a good captain. I'll give you that.
He's the best captain actually. So
he's not.
You can go ahead and say
he's
it.
A good captain.
Name another one. Name somebody that is better.
Yeah, he plays for the Leafs.
Yeah, John Tavares. Yeah, right. You cannot say John Tavares is a better captain than Brady Tkachuk.
How many captains right now are in the NHL? Is there like 27 or 26?
Probably something like that. Yeah, there's a few teams that don't have him. Yeah. Like maybe like McDavid. You could maybe say McDavid, and yeah, so Tkachuk would be like 26th best, right? Like there's probably about that many better
Imagine if McDavid liked to fight. How awesome that would be.
Oh, imagine if he was as tough as Kachuk. Yeah, that'd be great. Anyways, we can move on from that. Let's get into some of the teams who've had a not so hot start this year. One of them being the Seattle Kraken. Again, it's early, right? It's only like 3-4 games into the season. Some teams have only played 2 games as well so far. But the Kraken, I think a couple of us had the Kraken making playoffs. They've kind of looked a little sloppy out of the gate. So do you guys have any thoughts on them?
I think, well, I expected them to have a bit of a regression, right? I think that they overachieved last year. Don't know where their goals are coming from on a consistent basis. So seeing them 0-3-1, I think to start isn't totally surprising, especially with that inconsistency in goal. But I saw that Adam Larson was dangling last night. So that was a bit of a surprise, I guess. Maybe he's like, somebody's got to step up, start driving the net. So he's going to take it upon himself. Speaking of a guy that is really crucial in a hits league, that guy does it all out there from the back end. And now apparently he's got hands and he's just showing them off for the first time.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at the stats here, like you were right with the 4 losses. They got the 1 point with the overtime loss, but they had 3 goals for in the first 4 games. Like that, you're not going to win very many games if you only get 3 in the first 4. And then 13 against, so the minus 10 goal differential. Like, they got to fix that in a hurry, because I think it was Falks that said last week or the week before that you can't win in the first couple weeks, but you can definitely, or the first month at least, you can't win the Stanley Cup, but you can definitely pull yourself out and way out of the playoffs. So the Kraken got to figure it out soon.
That had been the sense historically, right? Like, not to throw a jab there, but they've historically started slow, right, Falks? So just like getting out of that hole and getting back into the race is,
yep,
you need to have a pretty incredible stretch at some point, right, to really drag yourselves back into it.
Yeah, even then, even if you go on a stretch of winning, like Sen started last year, I think it was like losing 12 of the first 14 games, something like that. And it was just trying to climb out of that is impossible to do, especially when you're in a conference like the Eastern Conference, even the Western Conference. Like, teams aren't going to be dropping games, and it's hard to make that ground up. So, yeah, it's important to have a hot start. Another kind of team that's slumping so far, I mean, the Oilers kind of turned things around the other day. They started out with 2 straight losses, and it was a little scary, but things kind of were all right last game, right, with a 6-1 win. So that was nice to see. Another one there, too, that we want to get into that we think maybe there's going to be some fall off with is the Lightning. So they're dealing with the injury bug a little bit, too, with Vasilevsky down, Stamkos out as well, and they've lost a few games to start the year now, too. So what are your guys' thoughts on the Lightning?
I guess we kind of expected that, right? Like, that Johansson has always struggled, even when he was playing on the Avs. So he's in front of a good team, and he's still struggled to like earn a starting role at times. And then when they were playing the Sens the other night, they had this 30-year-old goalie who played his first NHL game. He was in the SHL last year. Never heard of this guy before. Like, they're in tough. And something that's actually interesting there, the Wings are carrying 3 goalies and the Sabres are carrying 3 goalies on their rosters right now. I wonder if that is just because they don't want to give the Lightning anything. They don't want to give them a potential NHL starter for them to pick up off the waiver wire. So they're like, we'll run 1 player short here. But yeah, it's tough. I'm a little nervous putting the Lightning as number 2 in my projections for the Atlantic.
It's kind of like, too, with them carrying all the goalies. We saw that with the Leafs. So they ended up keeping – nobody claimed Martin Jones because they owed him a lot of money. So I guess they kind of – because after a certain date, he was supposed to get paid his bonus. So he would have got claimed. I think he would have got claimed by the Lightning or even potentially another team. But because they owed him a lot of money, I don't know if it's the same situation with the other goalies, but maybe that's keeping the Lightning away.
Yeah, their goalie played well in that game they had against Ottawa. It definitely wasn't his fault that they lost that. So we'll see if they can turn it around. Did you see Timo Meier, too, was benched the other day for the entire third period in the Devils game? So him and Lindy Ruff must not be getting along.
That's so tough to start the year like that too. Like you want to get off to a good start, and like I know they're NHL players, they're pros, they'll probably get over it pretty quickly, but nobody wants to start a year like that.
Yeah, that's tough. That's tough. And speaking of like not wanting to start a year off on this foot, did you guys notice the Jets attendance records as well? I think they had like barely over 11,000 fans for their first couple games this year, which is just awful. But yeah, what are your guys' thoughts on that?
Yeah. Terrible for like that being a Canadian city, and you would have thought that like Hellebuck and Scheifele were still not signed, and there was just a bunch of uncertainty surrounding the team. But I thought that Cheveldayoff made their direction pretty clear, and fans would be excited to go. Like it's not like they were even signed a few months ago; they're just signed last week, and there's a bunch of excitement renewed around that team. So I don't know, that's really surprising to me, especially with like the whiteout being one of the most famous playoff rituals, right, for teams and their fans. So yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of surprised about that one. I got no idea there. I don't think it's Tuesday is a good excuse.
Do you think there was a lot of like big Blake Wheeler fans? Think that could be part of it?
Yeah, it could be. It could be. You know what, like, I don't want to make it like too political, but like the price of tickets and actually being able to afford to go to a game is so expensive. Like especially too for like people maybe living in Winnipeg, that could be a lot tougher for them too. And I was just like, what are they, over $100 each now for a ticket? That doesn't include your parking. That doesn't include the 2 or 3 beers you're buying when you go to the game, right? Like, so when that adds up, that's like a $200 outing. Like, it's just, that could be part of it maybe even. So
maybe, yeah. I saw that Buffalo was around 60% capacity last night, or 66. I don't remember exactly, but it was looking quiet in there. So, hey, if we want to go over for a game, it might be a little bit cheaper to just drop into Buffalo.
Yeah, let's do it.
I love up game day.
Up KeyBank Center, that was always good.
It's a nice little arena too. It's fairly new, right? And it's in a good part of Buffalo. Like,
yeah,
and they got an exciting team. So,
oh yeah, no, Buffalo's been solid too at the start of this year. So, again, it's early, right? We don't want to have our too early overreactions or anything. But is there anything that's like kind of you guys expect a team to keep going on the same kind of path for the rest of the year? Somebody that's like started off that you've liked so far?
I got one, and it's just because I was lying to you, Rory. What I wanted to grill you about was indeed on the list. And I don't know if anyone heard, but Rory said Vegas is going to have quite the Stanley Cup hangover. 4-0, top of the league. Like you said, a lot. It's early, but come on, look at the Vegas Golden Knights. They're hot to start the year.
Yep. Let's go back. Find the clip. Rory saying Vegas wouldn't make it. That's all right. I think I had Bruins missing too this year, and Bruins have come out red hot as well. So it's again still early, right? Do you have any, Rory, that kind of stand out to you?
That will be my unsustainable pick. Is who knew that Aiden Hill was a superstar? I guess, but we'll see. Like, I guess they've won like their first 3 games by 4-1. I think so. They're getting the offense, I guess, and like Eichel's a point per game, Stevenson's a point per game, and Carlson's a point per game. So the center depth is proving to be a little bit more than what I expected. But hey, my point was the wing. Who's going to get it from the wing? I guess that's up to Marchessault and Stone. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see if Aiden Hill and Logan Thompson can keep it up. But yeah. Aiden Hill, 0.95 save percentage. Who would have thought, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
seriously. And did you hear, so like a couple injury news as well from the NHL, right? We talked about Stamkos being out. We talked about another guy, well, so far we haven't talked about him yet, but Kirby Dach for the Habs too, out with season-ending injury. That's a tough loss for the Habs too, a team that kind of needs everybody that they can get. I feel like the Habs lose guys to injury every single year. Like key players too, not just like.
Yeah, I believe last year they led the league in man games lost due to injury. Like, no matter how good you are, I know they're kind of bottom of the standings, but no matter how good you are, you lose a lot of games with injury. You can't really recover from that.
No, you can't, especially key players too. If key players go down, like last year for them it was Caulfield, went down for a huge chunk of time, and now this year losing essentially your second line centerman. So that's a huge loss for a team that kind of doesn't have much depth to fall back on. So
If I was a Montreal fan, I would have been so excited to watch that line because it was Doc centering Slavkovsky and Newhook. Like that was your line two, I would think, and that's a really young line. You got Newhook, young guy coming in from Colorado to see if he can realize his potential, and now they got to shift him to center,
yeah,
right? And I
Yep.
think that they were meeting the height early on. Obviously, just a couple games, but yeah, that's a big blow because obviously Montreal at the bottom of the standings, they aren't overly deep, so it'll be interesting to see how they make up for that loss in the top six.
Yeah, they've got Tanner Pearson on the left wing right now with Newhook in the middle and Slavkovsky
Totally
on the
forgot
right.
about him.
Yeah,
I
so
hope he makes a bit of a comeback. Haven't heard of him in a while, it feels like.
yeah, so a bunch of journeyman kind of guys too. Like they got Monahan still on the third line, so he could maybe step up and play a role. Josh Anderson can kind of play up and down the lineup, but again, that's tough when you lose it, and you hate to see a young player too that is still developing lose time for injury as well. That's unfortunate. Yeah. So moving on to the kind of next topic here, scoring around the league this year seems to be up. So smash those overs. We've got a parlay going tonight, a little Wednesday night parlay. We've got the Detroit and Pittsburgh game. We're taking the over in that, and we're going Sens money line. So not biased at all. Sens are getting the win tonight against the Caps. They are favorites tonight. They are favorites, okay? And they've been playing well so far. Washington's been struggling too. I think they're like 1-2 so far. So they're a little slow at the gate too. Ovi's yet to score, so he loves to light up the Sens though. So we'll see. I think it'll be a good game tonight. I think it's Forsberg and Kemper, I imagine. I think tonight in net for the two. So it'll be a good game.
Let's get into that scoring being up. What do you guys thoughts on that?
I think it's a common trend. I think year over year, isn't one thing with the March Madness is always hit the under because it's these players' first games on like national TV, so they're nervous. It's like a common betting thing for basketball, betting the under. But yeah, I think it's the system's not necessarily being fully in place yet, or players, or if that's just players being able to carry them out. And yeah, you're seeing these crazy back and forth games like every night. That Montreal Toronto game, that was incredible. That was a great game to watch. Just like as a fan, not being tied to either team, that was a great game to watch. And then like Carolina, they had a 6-5 game, and they let up 6 to the Ducks. Who would have thought? This super structured team behind Brindamore, defense first, and they've hammered the over in every single game so far. So yeah, love to see the scoring up. I think that if it can hold something like that, 8 goals a game, that'd be a lot more exciting for fans.
Mm-hmm. You know what? I picked up Antti Ranta for goalie, trying to get a goalie stats and goalie wins for that game. You think Carolina against Anaheim, that looks good for Antti Ranta, and the stat line at the end wasn't so hot with all those goals in that game, and he didn't even end up getting the win. So it was I was losing those categories anyways. I was going to lose them anyways, so it didn't really matter. But anyways, picked him up, didn't pay off. Carolina though, yeah, they've looked good. I think they got like the best D in the league with the guys they have. It's just incredible. They're 6 guys. It's just so all of them are top 4 defensemen. And I think like Brady Shea too is leading this team in points right now as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think he's got 6.
Yeah. So Carolina they look really solid. Like they dropped that game on a back-to-back to Anaheim, but overall they've looked good so far. Like they got Orlov and Pesci and Shea and Burns and Slavin. So D'Angelo, like all in all, they're just a deep team. Looks really solid. So I know a lot of analysts have them coming out of the East this year. So we'll see if that kind of sustains for the course of the year, and we expect them all to make playoffs. So,
You guys have a favorite goal this year that you've seen yet from anyone?
Oh,
Anyone that
yeah.
sticks out?
Yeah, it was the one last night that McDavid scored. Did you guys see that?
I did see that one. I disagree completely with that goal. So I'll let you explain what happened for the goal first before I
So
get
there was a
into it.
chip into the zone, and McDavid lost possession. And this is totally on Carrier. Like, this puck never should have even got back to McDavid, but he loses balance, does a 360 on his knees over the blue line. Puck just hops over Carrier's stick, and once McDavid completes the 360, gets up on his feet, and the puck's just right there for him, walks in, and just that perfect spot right above the pad, below the blocker, the goalie. It was like, I couldn't believe what I just watched. If he had that on his stick and chipped it, and then went down and did the three, like, that's your goal of the decade right there. But it was unintentional.
Yeah.
So I get that. Like, for goal of the year, I don't know if that's what you meant, Kijo, but like, in terms of just craziness, that was the one that I saw that I couldn't believe what I was watching.
Yeah. In terms of craziness, I'll speak to that one. Like, the Carrier, it didn't even hop over his stick. He just whiffed on it. Okay, so it's basically like you're just giving McDavid essentially a breakaway at that point. It's the equivalent of so McDavid would have lost the puck. It's the equivalent, if we're like looking at it in a different sport, of like LeBron James taking the basketball, passing it to the other team, and then the other team just throwing it back to him for an alley-oop, and he dunks it while he's going. That's basically what was happening, because McDavid's going, like, he fell, he's spinning, he gets back up, and it's like, oh, I'm on a breakaway right now. So it's it was a crazy goal though. My favorite one so far has got to be the
incoming Brady Tkachuk.
I was gonna say that one that made it 4-2 the other night. I did. That one was electric. That one got me up on my feet. Just made me think about how he's the greatest captain in the NHL. Also, like, that Matthews goal was pretty electric. The one against the Habs when they came back from being down and then to tie it up late, that was pretty top notch as well too. So those are my kind of top two that I've enjoyed so far.
Hey, speaking of captains willing to do anything for their team, I've never seen Brady Tkachuk clothesline a player for hitting him from behind, so he doesn't have Larkin topped yet.
That's true. Yeah, we'll wait on that. He's done some crazy stuff. So.
Often.
Yeah. Yeah. So, getting into some other topics as well. In terms of like peskiness, I find Vancouver's shown a lot of kind of resilience so far this year as well. They've been really solid, and I'd be honest, I didn't have them making the playoffs this year. And again, it's still early, but I'm liking what I see out of Vancouver so far. Like, Pettersson came out of the gate hot. He was lighting the lamp and leading his team. So you couldn't ask for much more from that guy.
Even Brock Besser putting up 4 in his first game.
Yep.
And I thought that this would have been a leading topic for us heading into this episode with the amount of goals that they've been scoring. And then, of course, they go into Philly, and you think they're just going to build upon that, and instead they put up a donut. So I thought that kind of put some water on the fire there for us. But yeah, like 8-1, it doesn't matter if it's just an off game of an NHL team, but that's against McDavid, one of the best players of all time. You put up 8, and that defense limits them to 1. That's, yeah. But what I think is even more impressive than that is the fact that they won the home and home, the back-to-back game as well. They won that 4-3. Usually what I like to do is just what I think is an easy bet is betting the team that gets blown out the night before, thinking that they'll like come back. But yeah, they face like an early onslaught. I watched just the first period of that game, and Casey DeSmith actually looked unbelievable. He let in that one goal 30 seconds in, and it looked like the Oilers were going to do the exact same thing back to the Nucks. But hey, they weathered the early storm, came back, and still beat them 4-3. So, yeah, that's awesome to see out of the Nucks.
Yep. Yeah. So so far so good from Vancouver. We'll see if they can keep it up. Another kind of hot start as well. Jack Hughes, he just looks great as always, and Vegas as well. Like we've been talking a little bit about Vegas. I think Eichel had a pretty nasty goal the other day too, which I think that one also could be in my top suggestions there for goal of the year so far. So Vegas looks great as well. I guess we'll just kind of chat about some thoughts about our own team. So we'll stick to the Atlantic here. So why don't you go first, Roy, with your thoughts on the Wings so far this year?
Oh, all right. I'm pretty excited to see that early chemistry between Larkin and DeBrincat. I'll be honest, I don't want to talk about DeBrincat in front of you folks. I don't know if that hurts a little bit, but he's got 3 goals already, and he looks really solid. I think that he and Larkin are going to be playing together on a line for the whole year, probably, as if this keeps it up. Like, they're looking incredible. And Raymond, it's good to see Raymond looks like he's taken a bit of a step. I know that the big narrative around him is that he's just put on like a lot more weight, and he's able to play in the corners along the boards a little bit more and actually win those puck battles. And it's actually showing. So, and he's shooting the puck more too, which is something like he's got a great shot, but he'd always look off. So
yeah, makes a difference when you actually want to play somewhere. You know, it actually makes a difference when you're motivated to play. So.
Oh, I think it's just the top line.
Yeah. It also helps too when you
something about the offense in Ottawa versus Detroit. So
yeah, it also helps when you're not playing with like Parker Kelly every night.
yeah,
and you're playing with Larkin.
It's the Wings are in a different situation than the Sens. The Sens have their the roster that they have more or less are the players that you're hoping to see compete for a cup eventually, or be competitive eventually, right? And can't be said for the Wings. I expect 3 or 4 of those players to be still on the team when they're actually competing. So many of these players are just UFAs on expiring deals within the next few years. So I'll be more excited when the Edmondsons and the Kaspers and Danielsons are making a difference on that team. So
yeah, they've been good so far. We'll get to the Leafs soon, Kijo. I know you're sitting there anxious, waiting to go. But the Wings have been good so far, and they're 2-1 right now. And honestly, if you can just manage to get into playoffs, that's the thing. You can do damage. You just got to get into playoffs. Like we saw last year with Florida, right? So if Detroit can just manage to be solid enough this year to make it to playoffs, then that could be big for them. And no, I think they're right there. They're not far off. So
I think their depth is great. I think their 3rd and 4th lines match up against any team in the league. It's just the top 6 and the top end talent. It's I don't know if you could keep up scoring wise.
Yeah.
I think that'll be big for Detroit too. Like you said, their 3rd and 4th lines are good. If they're 1 and 2, the 1st and 2nd line can just keep up with other teams. Like if you go into Tampa or Boston, Toronto, wherever it may be, and you can keep up with their top 6. If you can get a few goals from your bottom 6 forwards, your 3rd line chips in a few, you'd be able to win quite a few games. So I think Detroit it's good they started off with a couple wins, and I think they'll be hanging around longer than some people may think.
Hopefully. I want to watch more meaningful games into the spring. But yeah, I think that so if Raymond can get his scoring touch in and he kind of proves to be another shooting threat, they're trying to force it to DeBrincat a little bit too much, and it's a little easy to read for the PKers just because he is realistically their only shooting threat on the power play especially. So if they end up having another option like a Raymond, then that opens up play a lot more for them offensively.
Mm-hmm. So speaking of a shooting threat, let's get into let's dissect the Leafs and Austin Matthews' performances, and just what are your thoughts on the Leafs so far this year, Kijo? We'll dive into it.
No, I don't think I have any. No, I honestly, I've loved what they've done so far this year. I mean, obviously the other night losing to Arvid Soderblom, I think that's his name. What was that? I never understand when NHL teams do that. The Leafs, I don't care what anyone says, are so much better than Chicago. Like, it should never be close. I know they got Bedard and Taylor Hall. They got a couple guys, but the Leafs should not lose to Chicago. And I find that they just do this sometimes with these teams that are, I don't know if it's they just think they're going to walk all over them, but I mean, you're in the NHL. You can't really be thinking that against anyone. But Nylander, 6 points in his first 3 games. Tavares, 6 points in his first 3 games. Matthews, obviously, we've talked about him with the 6 goals. It's tough where he's playing, but I want to see more from Domi. I know it's, like I said, he's lower down the lineup, but I know he's not going to be doing stuff like his dad, like squirting people in the crowd with a water bottle and getting in a fight in the penalty box. But
we wish he was, though.
A little more.
Yeah. We wish he was doing that kind of stuff, though, to be honest. That'd be just exciting.
I would love that.
Yeah.
Same with where he is in the lineup. Matthew Nyes, I know he's a rookie. It's tough to elevate him because then you got to obviously bring somebody down, whether that's Bertuzzi or whoever it may be. But all in all, I've really liked the Leafs. Samsonov has been a little shaky at times. That's kind of a bit of a worry. I know they always score a lot of goals, except for the other night against Chicago. But you got to have a good goalie. I know teams have got through it before, but I really believe in you got to have a good tendy to make it through and eventually win. So I'd like to see Samsonov be a little better. But other than that, I've liked what they've done so far this year.
Mm-hmm.
What has Klingberg taken over PP1 over Riley?
He has over the first few games, yeah, and he's been good, but to me, he's looked a little sketchy. I mean, he always it gets it done. He's making nice passes, but I don't know if it's just the way he skates or what. But
I was wondering how he'd present as like an offensive threat compared to Riley. Just like how does he see the ice differently compared to him as that QB? You know,
I've seen there's been a lot of questions about that. Obviously, what does Morgan Riley think? Just new guy comes in and you just get pulled off a PP1, but Morgan Riley would never shoot the puck. He'd kind of have that floater in. It was ironic that he scored a couple of big goals against Tampa with that floater in the playoffs, but I think just Klingberg's more of a threat to shoot, and they want to have that because they're not even really covering Riley. Like, let him shoot the puck. We'll let the goalie see it. And then Matthews, Marner, Nylander, all those guys become less of a threat because they can cover them more. Having Klingberg back there to just fire it, I think that's opening up Matthews and Marner and like all those guys I mentioned. So it's good to see a little bit of a change on the power play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like Klingberg too offensively. That's kind of what you brought him in for. Yeah, Matthew Nyes has been solid too so far. Got a big goon too on your team now with Ryan Reeves, so add a little bit of grit, which, get under some team's skin. That could be a good thing. Get your team fired up. Yeah, and I agree too with Domi as well. Being on the third line with Minton and Matthew Nyes, that's kind of a tough spot for him to be in. Just like you'd ideally want to put him with a guy that, like a Tavares and a Nylander, right? Keep him on that second line. That way, because he kind of needs those guys around him.
I forgot about Fraser Minton. I'm assuming he's just getting his 9 games, but he's a defense first kind of guy, right?
Yeah, that's tough with the young guys too, with the 9 or 10 games, whatever it may be. I think, yeah, with the 9, he just goes back down to the Western Hockey League, I guess, and he gets more time with the puck. Obviously, he'd be playing big minutes, but I think that's tough on them going back down.
For who? Sorry, Domi? Be shifted down.
Fraser Minton.
No, Fraser Minton down. Yeah, no, that's tough. That would be tough. So
I don't know. I don't know. Like for him, I feel like he probably didn't even expect to get 9 games. I think the 9 games is all about like, all right, kid, this is what to expect. Now learn a few things and try and implement those into your game in the WHL. But that's hard to do. Probably you'd want to go back into your routine, but I don't know. It's crazy to me that this cup contender has more rookies on their team than the Wings.
Yeah.
That drives me nuts.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, you'd hope for Minton, it just leaves him wanting more. He wants to get better. He wants to come back. But, it's hopefully he does well in the next few, and who knows? Maybe he stays. We really don't know, but
yeah. No, sorry. I was just watching a clip of Reeves getting bodied by Jack-Eye in that fight. So
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I think you're watching the Sens game right now. You got that on in the background.
Not quite. Maybe though. Yeah. So so another kind of thing. Speaking of like the Sens, because we'll transition to them from the Leafs, but they're kind of going through a similar situation where you've had a guy who's been on the team for a long time running power play one. So for the Leafs, it's been Morgan Riley. And now you see kind of they're getting into Klingberg, right, who's running the power play one. And Ottawa's also kind of transitioning towards they're moving away from Shabbat, and now they got Sanderson, who's going to be running power play one. So, like, what are your guys' thoughts on, like, just transitioning away from a guy who's been there for a while? Like, right, like, so, like, yeah, it's nice to have Klingberg on the power play. He's been solid. He's an offensive defenseman. But at the same time, like, Morgan Riley was a beast last year in playoffs, and he's just been a hometown guy. He's been there, I think, the longest standing Leaf right now. So, like, what do you guys like? Do you think it's fair for Riley to be demoted like that, or?
I don't know. For me, I think you still get your money. Like, nothing changes like that. It's if you want to win, it all comes down to, do you want to win? Do you want to do what's best for your team? Which I'm sure they all do. But I think he would understand to a point. It's a new look. He's a different player than Klingberg. Same with like Sanderson in Ottawa. But by the way, like, where's Chychrun? Why is he not running that? What's going on there?
I don't know. I mean, he's putting up goals, so I don't really care at that point if he's scoring goals. But we got him on power play too, so it's Sens are looking solid so far this year. Just like one final comment too about the Leafs before we move to the Sens quickly. There's some people in the chat who are chirping Reeves right now. They're saying that Reeves has been a -3 so far with very limited ice time. So
who cares? He's getting in tilts. He's doing what he has to do. Are those
That's
Habs
right.
fans chirping?
They might be. They may or may not be.
I figured.
Yeah.
Habs are going to have a great year this year.
Yeah. Market, yeah. All right, so we'll move on to the Sens. Yeah, they've looked great so far. We got Josh Norris back tonight too, so that's amazing. And you know what? Hopefully, I think he's on a third-line role right now with Drake Batherson, so hopefully we can actually get Batherson going as well too tonight. That would be lovely. Matthew Joseph too has been unbelievable for the Sens so far this year. Honestly, like, maybe one of our best players. Him and Kachuk both have been leading the way. So for a guy who we're thinking of trading, he's really increasing kind of his value for himself. And yeah, we had the new owner in the building the past week. It was he was signing autographs for fans and everything. So Sens are looking good right now. I love the 6D that they got, and you know, we want Pinto chants that are running through the buildings for the Sens, but all in all, they look pretty solid right now.
What can they do with getting Pinto signed? Like, what do you see as the most reasonable outcome to get him back on the roster?
They have to find a way to move salary. So guys that are movable that you could part with are either Joseph. So I was just saying how, like, I mean, if you trade Joseph, you're trading away a guy who's playing well, and you're bringing in a guy who's young, and yeah, you need to sign him. So that might be a win there. But again, like, you don't want to give up a guy who's playing well. The other guy who I was thinking of is maybe Brandstrom, is maybe part with him just to free up a tiny bit, and that's all we need. So Pinto isn't far off with signing. They're not far off on a deal. But just to free up that tiny bit of cap, maybe move Brandstrom. And then it's so tough, right? They've kind of capped themselves a little bit.
Yeah, if that replacement player isn't that much different than what Brandstrom provides, then yeah, by all means do it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do it to get a player that you think is going to be on your team for longer term into a spot, right? Like, even if you can't trade Brandstrom, I'm not sure what his value would be on the market.
Mm-hmm.
Then just waive him, you know? If he's not worth anything, if you're reaching out to teams. I don't know what the status is of that or anything. It's all just hypothetical.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like you got to get that guy back on your team, no?
Yeah, like, Pinto's still so young. He was like a Hobie Baker finalist too, so we got to get him back in the lineup. And that's going to have to happen. I mean, they're going to have to move some cap for that. So, I mean, if we move Brandstrom, we're calling up a guy like Bernard Docker, or we're calling up, Lassie Thompson. So it's not as big of a drop off as like if we move Joseph, we're just essentially trading a forward for a forward at that point. So we're not really adding to the lineup. And I mean, so far at that second line center spot, Ridley Gregg's been outstanding too. Like he's been really solid. I don't have many complaints there. But again, like he's a rookie, so doing it over the course of an 82 game season is going to be. We'll see how that goes, and that's where, like, it'd be nice to have Pinto back because he scored 20 goals for us last year. So it'd be nice to have him back, and then we can slide Gregg over to the wing or something like that, and just like increase our depth by maybe pushing Joseph down a line and. We have Kubalik. That means everybody moves down a line. So it's
Pinto's center, right?
Yep, Pinto's centerman. Yep.
What if Norris gets healthy, because he should be in that 2C role, moves Gregg down to the third line, which is probably where he should be, and the Sens are thriving, and Pinto's still not signed. Does he just become trade bait all of a sudden?
Yeah, we could look at trading Pinto. I'd be
just thoughts.
No, yeah, I'd be curious to see what the market is for him as well too. So it's tough. We'll see what happens. So I think they've kind of capped themselves, like I've been saying though. So it's we'll see what they decide to do with that.
Are you still confident, Felix, that I'm going to be buying you playoff tickets?
Yeah. I mean, I was never like super confident. But I think actually after week 1, I'm feeling more confident than I was before. Are you starting to feel more scared?
No. It's a win-win for me. I get to go to an NHL playoff game maybe.
That's right. Maybe it'll be against the Leafs too, so it'll be like you would have been buying those tickets anyways too, right? That'd be awesome.
Good thing I don't own a home because if I did, I would have to sell it.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, with the Sens, my ultimate dream this year was for them just to put Norris on the long-term injured reserve and have him come back for playoffs and use the cap space to sign Pinto with that, but that's not happening.
He'll be hurt in a week.
Yeah, another shoulder injury. So, yeah, like we said, Sens, they're playing the Caps tonight and the Detroit-Pittsburgh game on tap tonight as well. So we got a little parlay as well, right? Sens money line. We got the over in the Wings Pittsburgh game, over 6.5 goals. All right, and that's going to pay out a nice little, I think $10 bet pays out like 20-something bucks there. So get that in.
For anyone who was bold enough to take biased picks.
Exactly. Yep. So to end off, we'll do a final pack opening, see what we get. And so again, it's Tim's. Right, Tim's cards are back, everyone. I love these things. Probably spend way too much money on them.
Pack.
Yeah. Let's see who we get. We
Kijo's
got
picking the player.
Oh, I'm killing to talk about a donut. Let's see it.
This is Logan Thompson. Logan Thompson, you're picking this one, Kijo. We got Jordan Binnington. Yeah, Jordan Binnington. And we got Matt Duchene.
Wrong jersey.
Matt Duchene. Yeah, wrong jersey.
It's a tough pack.
That is a tough pack.
That is a tough pack. You just throw these right off to the side.
Let's look at Jordan Binnington. Also, update 1-0 Sens.
Hey, let's go.
Jordan Binnington. I don't know. I think we even talked about this, how he freaks out and throws water bottles at people. But I was at a game last year when they played St. Louis, and they beat the Leafs, and it was brutal because I swear anytime I go to a Leafs game, they lose. But nothing with the Leafs. Binnington, just one of those guys. Like, he's still young. He's won a cup. I mean, he still has a lot to prove, but he just, I don't know. The team he's on now, you wonder if you see one of those younger guys go on a team that's maybe pushing for the playoffs, or they're going to be any different, they're going to make more of an impact. But do you guys think it's tough for him being on a team like St. Louis? I mean, they'll push for a playoff spot, and they got a good young core, but You think he would be better off on a veteran team that is for sure a lock, or do you think he'll do well in St. Louis? Kind of turn it over to ask you guys about him.
Why don't you go, Roy? You answer that one.
I'm in the camp that he's just Matt Murray 2.0. Comes in playoffs and excels for 4 rounds and then just struggles to live up to the hype that he built for himself to any degree after that. And yeah, I don't know. It's St. Louis is a team in limbo. They got a couple old guys like Letty, and then they got your young guys like Kyrou and Thomas. I don't really know what direction they're heading in. For Binnington himself, yeah, that's a great question. I don't know. I mean, any goalie looks better with a Carolina D in front of them, except for Antti Ranta right now. Sorry, folks.
Yeah.
But I also think it's tough because goaltending is so much of a mental game, right? Like goalies are so unique. So when you have a goalie that's freaking out like that all the time, you wonder if like the headspace he kind of like beats himself as opposed to the opponents beating him. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a good question.
I'd say that, like, I think the Blues might be sellers later, and I'd say Binnington could possibly get moved, but he's got 4 years left with $6 million per year on his contract. So he's getting paid like a starter, and he's 30 years old, and I don't know many teams that would take that on unless they're in a real bind come deadline time. So, yeah. Anyways, everyone, those are Tim's cards back, right? We did 2 packs today. Maybe we'll continue this on until the season ends, at least the Tim's card season ends. And yeah, all in all, another good episode. Thanks everyone for watching. We really appreciate your support as well too, and joining every week. We love the interaction. We love chatting with you guys. So just, yeah, all in all, thank you so much. And that pretty much wraps up today. So do you guys have any last words?
I just wanted to say we gotta keep, if you want them to succeed, we gotta keep talking about Ridley Gregg and Matthew Joseph, because they both got an assist on Tarasenko's goal tonight.
Let's go. The Tarasenko show, baby, starting us off. Maybe our parlay will hit tonight. Let's go. Cool.
Yeah,
all right.
Perfect. Wings on in 7 minutes. I'm gonna, get the TV fired up, get that game on. Keep an eye on the Sens for you folks.
Nice. Let's go, boys. Alrighty. Thanks again, everyone, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, see you, fellas.